What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match preview stream. And yes, it does not get any easier as we face Manchester City at the Etihad tomorrow. And what do we want out of this game, Sim?
I don't know. I don't know. I just want it to be over. That's what I know. That's all I know. I just want it to be
end the season now. Come on.
Honestly, it's kind of a lose-lose situation on tomorrow, to be honest, with Arsenal leading Man City by 8 points. Spurs obviously not in a title race, and obviously in a dogfight for top four right now. If we beat Man City, we're giving Arsenal a massive advantage in the title race. If we lose, we're losing more ground in the top four race. So I'm not really sure what I want out of Thursday, but all I know is I'm not really going to be feeling great after the game, whatever happens, really. But look, if we can get a victory, obviously, there's hope it could give us confidence and kickstart our season, but there's very little hope that we will go and repeat our heroics of last season when we did win 3-2 at the Etihad in what was unbelievable display.
And if we do go get a win tomorrow, are we hoping that Manchester United lose on the weekend? Because then we'll be kind of knocking on that door again.
You'd have to hope so. I mean, because we need top four. So they're
So we're hoping Arsenal go even further clear in the league, because there's Arsenal Man United on the weekend.
Yeah, I know. It's not great.
It's really a terrible, terrible, terrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
Really is. I mean, I guess we just got to put the Arsenal Man U games in the back of our minds and just focus on Newcastle, I guess.
Yeah, and try and get them, but they're looking like unstoppable at the moment. But whatever. Forget the top four race for a moment. Just looking at the game tomorrow, it's going to be extremely difficult. Even though Man City are not on the best of form, look, Man City are not playing great at the moment. Drawing at home to Everton, they lost to Man United. Even in wins recently, they haven't quite been at their sharpest.
Yeah.
So there probably is an opportunity if we play our cards right to get a result. But we're not in the same. I mean, I guess last season,
we just lost to Burnley.
It was a similar situation. We just lost 4 out of 5 games, I think.
Yeah.
Last season,
it's a very similar situation.
Went to the Etihad. So
similar time of year as well, wasn't it?
It was also about February time, and it really did kickstart our season when we got the win.
Yeah, because when you look at it, like this time last year, we were nowhere near top four. We were kind of thinking the same as we are now. Obviously, Arsenal weren't top of the league, and it didn't give us that extra little kick down in the ground. But we had no chance of top four. We were losing every week, or 4 of the last 5 games. We had just lost to Burnley, and Antonio Conte did that scathing post-match interview after that game, and we all thought, is this the end of Antonio Conte already? And we're kind of in exactly the same position right now, aren't we? Like, we don't know the future of Conte. We don't think we're going to get top 4. Everything's doom and gloom. Can we turn it around?
I mean, if it would be very Spursy to do it, lose against Villa and lose against Arsenal and then turn it around against Man City. I mean, we've seen it before, so I wouldn't completely rule it out. I think, obviously, the way we're playing is not good enough. The last away game we did have was a 4-0 win against Crystal Palace, but the way we're going into games and the way we're starting games, we could easily be, 2-0 down in 15 minutes against Man City if we're not careful. The way we've started games, so. From that point of view, we keep saying, we need to change our approach, we need to change this, to change that, and nothing seems to be changing right now in first halves of football. So to sit here and say, yeah, we can now all of a sudden switch up and turn it around is, some would say it's foolish to think that, but we do have the capability in the squad to hurt Man City going forward. We know that, whether it be Kane or whether it be Son or Richarlison starting in the front line. We know we have Kulusevski is going to start, Kane's going to start. If Kane can perform like he did last season, then we do have every opportunity, but we have to stop making silly mistakes in the back line. And to be honest, we did make one last season as well. Lloris made a howler for Man City's equaliser, and we did turn it around, but we have to. Well, right now, what keeps happening is we're in games and we make howlers, and the team just drop in confidence after these mistakes, and it really hurts our chances of getting points at the game right now. It's almost as if the players are expecting the mistakes. It feels like, and once we see a mistake from Dyer or from Lloris or from Davis or Longleos or Emerson and Doherty,
keep going.
Yeah, keep going throughout the whole squad. But once we see those mistakes, it's like, it's like, oh, it's here we go again, and then all of a sudden you see the body language drop. So if we are going to get a result out of Man City, we have to stop with these massive unforced individual mistakes. Like, we can't afford Lloris chucking the ball in the net like he did against Arsenal and go 1-0 down. But having said that, if we can be solid at the back, look, we play in a way that can hurt Man City. They won't like to play against us. They leave space in behind, especially if they're going to play. I've seen that Diaz and Stones are fit. If they're going to play those two at the back, I'd much rather be facing them than be facing Akanji and maybe Ake and Laporte, because they're a lot more. We're a lot more able to get at those kind of defenders who are very technical, very good playing out of the back, very good positionally, but can be got at when it comes to a physical aspect. You can bully them.
As we saw last season.
You can sprint past them. I really hope Walker doesn't play. I think it's a massive advantage if Walker... I remember at the beginning, when we were going to play the last game, Walker was going to be out. He was injured, and that was a big advantage for us, having Son on that side. But it looks like Walker's going to be fit again, and that's he's really good. One of his big strengths is cutting out counter-attacks, and that's a big problem for us. But they did play Walker last season, we won, so it's not be all and end all. But if they are going to play Diaz and Stones, I reckon that's a bit of an advantage for us rather than Ake and Akanji in a weird way.
The problem is Heung-min Son, to be honest. I think that we all know how dangerous and lethal Heung-min Son is against Manchester City. But with the form he's on, Richarlison back fit now, what do you do with that situation?
We had the same conversation when we played City, when we were going to play City early in the season before it got cancelled.
I think it's the
same conversation we had.
It's the same conversation, but Son has been bad now for that long. Back then it was like, maybe a couple of bad performances, but now it's been half a season, literally.
But you're taking away our biggest threat with the space that Man City leave. He is our biggest threat, so you're taking that out of the team. As much as Richarlison is also decent at that, to be honest, he's also pretty good at running into space. No one in the squad is as good as Son at that. So,
but he's just not doing it. And he's been so poor now. And I mean, I think it's time, maybe one last game, but I think it's time for him to come out the team for a game or two. As much as I love Sonny, as much as I think what a brilliant player he is, there's just something not right with him, whether it's confidence, whatever it is. And I don't know, I just can't sit through another Sonny performance like that.
I think he's coming into congested areas too often, and that's not where he's at his best, where he's at his strongest. He's getting into areas where he's getting too close to strong midfielders and he's getting too easily dispossessed. But if we can get him in a situation against that Man City backline where he's on the shoulder, we know how Man City play. They like to press really high. They like to pen you in. And that could really suit Sonny. And I know you could say the same about Arsenal, but the difference between Arsenal and City is that Arsenal have very physical and very fast defenders. When you look at Saliba, you look at Gabriel, and also he was our build-up play against Arsenal was nowhere near good enough, and it led to Son coming into central areas. We have to make sure Son isn't coming deep in these areas. We have to, like the first goal against Man City last season, he's on the shoulder, ready to break the line, ready to exploit the space. That's exactly where we need Son in these kind of games, and I do feel like. Yes, logically he deserves to come out of the team the way he's playing, 100%, and I do agree with that. I just feel like this isn't the game to take him out. I feel like we need him in this kind of game. And who do we have next? Fulham. Against Fulham, I completely agree. If we were playing Fulham tomorrow, I would agree, take him out, because I do believe Richarlison would be better suited to that kind of game. But just because it's Man City and the way they play and the space they leave, it's like you're taking him out for the perfect game suited to him kind of thing. And I think maybe that wouldn't be the right time.
Yeah, I completely get where you're coming from, to be honest. I really do. And I do know, he's always our biggest threat against Manchester City. His attributes of a footballer really it's just more than suited to this game. So yeah, I probably agree with you to a certain extent, but I just think the way he's playing his football is just not helping anyone at the moment. But in terms of the form of the two teams coming into it, Funnily enough, Spurs and Man City have a near to identical form in the last 5 games. 2 losses, 2 wins and a draw coming into it, which you wouldn't have thought that. But what's going on with Man City at the moment? Because I'm hearing murmurings that some fans of the Man City think they're better without Haaland, even though the amount of goals he's scoring. He's on a bit of a drought with no goals in his last 3 games. How do we combat the Haaland threat?
That's the big difference between what Man City were last season and this season. In terms of, I'm not talking about how Man City play in generally, but if I just go back to the game at the Etihad, Man City did have a lot of possession. They were penning us in. We were dynamite on the counter-attack, but what we were very good at is because Man City didn't have a proper number 9 last season. I think they were playing Gundogan in the false 9. They didn't have very physical threats in the box. So we were happy for Man City to kind of just pump crosses into the box and kind of play it in and around the penalty area, knowing the fact that in Romero, Dyer and Davis, we could physically cope with what they had to offer because they didn't have a very physical threat in the penalty area. They didn't have a player who we're really worried about when crosses come in. This season is very different. It's very different with Haaland there. He gobbles up anything in the box. He's a big threat aerially when it comes to crossing the box. Obviously, running in behind is a big threat, but I don't think we're going to have to be too worried about that kind of threat tomorrow. It's more about when we're sitting deep, his movement, his strength. And unfortunately, they've gone from having no real physical threats to having a big physical threat, which we can't handle, I don't think. And it's going to be a big job trying to shut him out. I think the best way to do it is try to clog up the central areas and make sure he gets no space. Make sure if he does get a touch, he's not allowed to turn. Making sure that he's not getting a run on you. But unfortunately, the sad reality at the moment is our defenders. And I put Romero in this category. I don't think they're capable of stopping him when it comes to if they got good delivery. So we're going to have to try our best to stop the supply. And I don't know how we do that in a 3-4-3. Stopping that supply to Haaland is going to be very difficult because we're going to get dominated in the central areas. We know that. The build-up play is going to be near impossible to stop. And we didn't even stop it last season. That's not how we stopped City. It was more about stopping when the supply got into the front line. We were able to cut it out. But this time it's about stopping the supply, and the only way I see that is in a 3-5-2. To be honest, but then if you play a 3-5-2, you're cutting out the creativity of Kulusevski on the counter attack. That decision making that was so vital last season in that game. So it's going to be difficult. I don't really see a solution which is foolproof, to be honest, going into it. How do we stop the supply to Haaland from the wide areas? How do we stop
Unless we play Kulu at right wing back.
We could do that, but it's a hell of a game to try it. But yeah, we could do it. We could try it.
I'd be up for doing it, man, because I think that defensively, Kulusevski's a workhorse. And I think defensively, he could actually be better than Doherty. It's
one thing trying hard, it's another thing being good defensively. You know what I mean? You have to being talented, being defensively minded. There's one thing tracking back. There's another thing having the timing of the tackle and the defensive positioning. You know, knowing where to be and all these kind of things, and that's obviously hard. That's hard to go into a game, especially against Man City, where you have to be defensively so solid. Having just experimenting with Kulusevski at wing back in that kind of game is difficult.
But when Kulusevski first came to the club, that's the one thing Conte said. Oh yeah, he can be good at right wing back. He can play at right wing back. And I think he's got the attributes that he can do that job. I really do. He's a really good ball carrier, got great ability in terms of getting the ball into the box and his crossing ability creatively. And I think that he works hard enough and he's defensively good enough as well to do the defensive job. And I don't see Doherty or Perisic being that good defensively anyway.
Yeah, we had Emerson there last season, who's obviously a much better defender, and because of his pace, he was also able to support the attack when we needed, although we know when he gets in those positions, he's not great, but at least he was in those positions to make Man City think when we did break. If we had Kulu there, look,
At the end of the day, at some point, we're going to have to try something new because what we're doing isn't working at the moment. That's the honest truth of it. And I feel like that could be something that could see us really, influence the game in a positive way tomorrow.
And it would be an interesting tactic if Conte was to go for that, a 3-5-2 of Kulusevski and Perisic as wing-backs. I just feel like in the wide areas, I still feel like they're going to be able to get crosses in way too easily, and they're going to be able to get in behind Perisic and Kulusevski way too easily with those two there.
But I think that the case would be the same if it was Doherty and Perisic as well. That's the thing. That's the thing. And at least if Kulusevski and Perisic are there, we know that when we go forward, when we have the chance to counter-attack, we've got Perisic on one side, Kulu on the other side, Kane and Son in the central areas. I think brilliant options.
When we go forward, if we have the chances to go forward, all of a sudden we're big threats, 100%. If we're those four going forward on the counter-attack with maybe one of the midfielders as well, we are starting to look like very threatening, especially against a back line where you think there should be a lot of space if they're going to try and frustrate us. Look, it could be an option. I don't see Conte trying it tomorrow.
Yeah, me neither, to be fair.
I think he's more likely to go with Emerson on the right-hand side. Someone who's quick, strong, good in the air, and more defensively solid. And I do see us being more defensively solid with Emerson's there. So I would go with Emerson on the right, on the left, probably go with Perisic again. Go with Perisic. I know he's got his reservations defensively with the fact that we had a whole week break and he went with Sessegnon. So that tells me he had big reservations about having Perisic up against Bukayo Saka. But who's he going to be facing? Who's Perisic going to be facing this time? Mahrez, probably, on that side. I'm more comfortable him facing Mahrez, but there's still a bit of a worry there, of course. I feel like with Mahrez, the difference between Mahrez and Saka, Saka's probably faster than Mahrez. Mahrez, with the ball at his feet, is fantastic and go inside, outside. I feel like Perisic would be more capable of frustrating Mahrez than he would of Bukayo Saka. So maybe that's why I would stick with. And I also feel like Mahrez is less likely to track back than Saka was. So there might be more space for someone like Perisic. But last season we had Emerson and Sessegnon, and they both did good jobs in that game. But obviously Sessegnon's really out of form. Emerson hasn't played the last few games. I reckon he is going to go with Emerson on the right.
Yeah, I kind of got a feeling as well, to be honest. He's done such a great job there the last season as well. As much as people like want to clown on Emerson and fans don't like him, and me and you want to see him sold as well. But the fact of the matter is, in the big games away from home last year at Anfield and at the Etihad, he stood up for the team, and he was probably, I think he got man of the match in both games, didn't he? Or he got man of the match at Anfield.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got man of the match at the Etihad.
Look, as much as Emerson isn't good enough for what we need, and as well, it's not like he's had big games where he hasn't played well. These aren't the games where Spurs fans lose their shit over him. I mean, he can do better even in these games, 100%. Like I remember against Man City at the Etihad, how many times he was free on the right hand side in space, and we're breaking, and it breaks down because of him. But he does know how to defend. He is a lot harder to beat on the right-hand side than our current options. And he can put in good defensive displays for the team, which is not needed in these kind of games. So these aren't the games where he proves that he's not good enough. What he proves he's not good enough is the majority of the other games where he's tasked with getting a lot of emphasis on him attacking and things like that. And that's where the belief in him breaks down. So I think he will. I think he will go with him on the right-hand side. I did find it interesting he went with Doherty and Sessegnon on Sunday. I wonder if obviously he had this game in mind when he did that, or what he was thinking. Because if it was purely tactical, is he gonna go with Sessegnon again on Thursday because he's worried about the pace, or is it purely maybe he was thinking he can't play Perisic and Doherty both games in a row, and he's going to need to rotate, so he's going to go with Sessegnon and Doherty and then Emerson and Perisic on Thursday. I feel like he might be doing that, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think the reason he took Perisic out of the team is because he'd played just before that 2 games in the space of a week. I know he had a week rest, but I just feel like, he's got aging legs, Perisic. People forget how old he actually was. 33 years old, Perisic.
Did he play against Portsmouth?
No, he didn't. Sorry, he didn't. He played in Crystal Palace and the game before that. 2 games in a week. Then what was it? Who did we play before Palace?
We played Villa.
Yeah, he played in the Villa game 90 minutes, and then he played 90 minutes in the Palace game.
Okay, but then he had a week. Then he had a game off against Portsmouth, and then a whole week off. So he had 10 days off. I don't think that's an excuse.
But I mean, like, what other choice it is? Because surely
That should be tactical.
surely you play Perisic and not Doherty if you're
That's what I
going to
would've
go
done.
out the two. Like, Perisic gives you that elite threat going forward, right? Doherty gives you an okay threat sometimes, and you have to go with Perisic and Emerson if you were going to go with one of the defensive ones and one of the attacking ones. That's just the obvious choice, and I hope he goes with that tomorrow. I really do.
That's what I think he will. I think he will do, and I think Emerson and Perisic are more suited to dealing with the City wingers than Doherty and Session were of dealing with Martinelli and Saka. Not saying it's going to be easy.
It's just extreme pace that Arsenal and Man City just don't have that extreme pace.
Yes.
It's more technical ability.
They used to have obviously Sterling and Sane and that those when they had the ball at their feet, they strike the life out of you. When it comes to Mahrez and Grealish or a Foden, obviously fantastic technical players, all brilliant. But when it comes to just pure pace and one-on-one dribbling, I'm less worried about them than I am about Saka and Martinelli in that sense.
I agree. When you look at the last 5 times we played Man City, 4 wins and 1 loss.
Yeah, I thought that was a mistake. I was like, is that all green Tottenham? I saw that switch. All the green is City. It's like, no, that is actually right. Bloody hell.
And it's like, when you look at that, Spurs against Man City, who have been the best team in the league for the past however long it's been, 5 years, 4 years, let's say, you would have thought Spurs would be doing a lot better than they are. How do we do this every year against Man City?
Every year. Do you reckon we've won any of those games on XG?
No.
Probably not. We've probably lost every single one of them. I mean, it's incredible how we just do it to them every single time. It's mad.
I think in every one of those games, they've probably had more than triple the shots that we've had.
Yeah, and possession massively dominating like every time. To be fair, I actually think the one of the Etihad was probably our best performance out of the lot. That was one where because the goals we conceded, we didn't concede any chances really. Clear-cut chances. The goals we conceded, one was a massive howler from Lloris, and then there was a 90th minute penalty when Romero was blocking a shot and it hit his hand. So it wasn't exactly like those were really clear-cut opportunities either. And then other than that, Lloris made one save from outside the box from Gundogan, didn't really have opportunities, and we were the ones creating all the chances on the break.
Yeah.
So that was like a near-perfect display last season. The other ones, there was, I think, big elements of luck in a lot of those other wins that we've had against Man City, especially keeping clean sheets. I remember one, they've missed penalties. There was one where Sterling missed an open goal after going round Lloris. Aguero's missed penalties, Gundogan's missed penalties. We've definitely ridden our luck against Man City previously, but the one again under Conte.
VAR
was the one,
as well.
We've had VARs, big lucky VAR decisions.
So I remember that when we beat them in the Champions League, didn't we have VAR that literal next week, or maybe it was the start of the next season? We had a very similar VAR.
Yeah, because it hit Jesus' hand in the 90th minute, and we got a draw. So we've had our fair share of luck, and you could argue maybe the luck's going to run out tomorrow. I hope not, but I think Conte's performance last season was like a blueprint of how you combat this Man City team at the Etihad.
The problem I got with tomorrow is that Man City, when they're usually coming up to face us, they're usually on good form, and maybe we're the ones on bad form when it turns around. Now they're a bit of a wounded animal, Man City, and they're so far behind Arsenal. They know that they need to start going on a run if they want to win this title this year. And Haaland as well, 3 games, no goals. He's going to be chomping at the bit to get back on the score sheet tomorrow. So I'm really fearful for tomorrow, just on that alone.
The fact that he's off form is probably, I would say, is a benefit, because you can see he feeds off that confidence of scoring goal after goal. Obviously, he's going to want a reaction to not scoring 3 games, no doubt about it.
I'm worried about the reaction big time.
But I think I'd rather be facing a Haaland off form than one who's banging in hat-trick after hat-trick after hat-trick.
I just wouldn't prefer to face Haaland at all,
I
to be
know,
honest.
but I'm saying if I had a choice between a Haaland who's off the back of back-to-back hat-tricks or a Haaland now who's 3 games without a goal, I'd rather face this one for me. But it's going to be so difficult when we're pen deep in our own box, and they're like he's not going to be physically dominated like we were able to do to their attackers last season. So it's going to be so difficult to stop him. I think it's just going to be a lot of it's going to be getting in front of shots, just blocking things, making sure that he's off balance when he's having headers, things like that, making sure the crosses into the box, they don't have time and space when they're getting crosses in and they're not so accurate. It's going to be difficult, but those are the ways we're going to see it, because if we step up for even a second, you know, he's going to be burning Haaland, Dyer like he's not even there. It's going to be so easy. Yeah. So I do worry about that. And even when it comes to Romero's style of play, he's very combative. He likes to get in front of the attacker. But when it comes to someone like Haaland, who's so physically imposing, it's going to be very difficult for Romero to impose himself in those kind of areas.
Yeah, it's very true. And Romero was so key to that performance up at the Etihad last year as well, when it wasn't up against such a physically dominant striker. When you're looking at the opposition predicted lineup, we've gone for Ederson in goal, Walker, Cancelo as fullbacks, Laporte, Kanji, which I actually think it probably will be Ruben Diaz in there, Rodri, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Grealish and Haaland. What is going on with João Cancelo at the moment? Like, since coming back from the World Cup, he's only been playing really a bit part role. When he has been playing, he's been hauled off at half-time, hasn't been really playing that well. What's going on there?
Seems to be going through a period at the moment. Obviously, the World Cup wasn't good for him. He started the World Cup but then found himself out of the team in place of Diogo Dalot of Man United. That must have hurt his ego, knowing that, you know, he's been one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League for 18 months, pretty much. Rave reviews from fans and managers, and getting goals and assists on a regular basis. And then he goes to the World Cup thinking, you know, this is his big opportunity to show what he's about on the world stage, and he gets dropped for a player who up until recently wasn't getting in the Man United team. So that must have been a bit of a pill to swallow. Maybe he's and obviously we know that he was a bit disgruntled about that. He had comments at the World Cup saying that, you know, some managers don't know how to use him, and they don't appreciate his qualities and things like that. And maybe there's just a hangover from that, from the World Cup, because we know that, you know, Pep has used him in a way, very unique style, the way Pep and Man City use their fullbacks compared to most other teams. So he is very specific the way he plays compared to most other fullbacks. So the fact that maybe Portugal don't play that way and he wasn't used at the World Cup in that way must have been frustrating for him. But I'm sure he's going to get back to his best. I'm sure that it's just a little blip for him right now, but I think it's maybe just hangover from, you know, and Pep has been talking up this Rico Lewis, saying he's the one giving Man City what they need at fullback right now, and that must be hard for Cancelo to hear, knowing that he's been so good for so long, and now Pep is talking up a teenager, saying he's the one right now giving him what he needs at fullback. That must be hard to hear for Cancelo, but look, it's a blip. It's been going on for a few games, but I'm sure once he gets his mind right, he'll be back to his best and be flying again.
In terms of the Man City wingers, we have touched on them a bit so far this stream, but who would you prefer to come against tomorrow when you're looking at the likes of Mahrez, who since the World Cup has started to see more game time and starting to play really well. Grealish as well is starting to chip in with goals and assists since the World Cup, but also players the likes of Foden there as well. So I mean, who would you like to come up against maybe tomorrow?
Well, I mean, out of Man City's, I'm just looking out of their forward line in terms of who I'd most like Spurs to face, considering, assume I'm going to go with Emerson and Perisic in the wingers. I would rather not have Mahrez there, as much as I think I would rather deal with him and Saka. In terms of their right wingers, who would he be competing with? There's Mahrez, maybe Foden on that side. He usually plays on the left a bit more.
Bernardo Silva potentially as well.
Silva, but I think he's going to play maybe centrally. Who I'd rather face, Mahrez or Bernardo Silva on the right hand side? I think they're very similar when they play on that side. I'd probably rather face Mahrez, just because I know that defensively I think Bernardo Silva is a lot better than him, tracking back, and he's much more able to do defensive duties than someone like Mahrez. But Mahrez is probably more likely to get past you and whip one in from the top corner from 25 yards from Bernardo Silva. So it's a difficult one, but I'd probably rather Mahrez be there. On the left-hand side, would I rather face Grealish or Foden? I think I'd rather face Grealish.
Me as well.
Just about. Although Foden being a left foot on the left-hand side, I think probably suits us a bit more than maybe Grealish always cutting inside and dribbling and stuff like that. But I just think Grealish right now, as much as he's improving of late, just still isn't having the best time of it. And I'd rather fancy my chances in having Foden, who I know is just top class and he's having a great season for Man City.
In terms of the threats that Spurs have, obviously Conte did his press conference yesterday, told us that Bentancur is fit and ready to play in this game. How much of a impact and a positive step is that for us?
Massive, absolutely gigantic. And it's not just his off-the-ball ability, which is massive, and he covers so much ground. And I really believe him being there makes our 3-4-3 not maybe perfect, but a lot more effective off the ball when it comes to covering ground and being able to get closer to the opposition. But what he really is important is in possession in that 3-4-3. I feel like as much as I love Sarr and Højbjerg, who did a good job, they just haven't been able, when we're playing out the back, to take the ball in possession and with confidence and be able to play on the half turn and play the ball forward progressively. And I do believe having Bentancur there, it lessens the need for Son and Kane and maybe even Kulusevski to drop deep as much as they have been in recent games. And I think they all have more confidence in the knowledge that if we can get the ball into Bentancur, he will be able to hold off a Man City player who does come and press him. And we're going to have more confidence playing the ball into him on occasion, more than we did with Sarr and Højbjerg. And that will put us, especially on the front foot when we do have possession and when we do have teams pressing us. I think it's so important that he's in the team for those kind of occasions. Obviously, he's been out for a few weeks, so I'm hoping that there's not going to be a bedding-in period for him and he's going to be coming back as good as he was, but there might be too much to ask for. But I think, especially in this formation, it's massive. He's when I think about the most important player in this formation, I think about Kulusevski and I think about him. I think those are the two most important players to make this formation function as
and those are the two players who we've been missing for the past however long. It's been ages now. But yeah, look, it's really important to get both of those back into the side tomorrow. If it is the lineup that we think it's going to be, that we've been alluding to, how do you think the game's going and what's your score prediction?
I mean, a lot of it is how good Bentancur is going to be when he comes back into it. If he's going to be as good as because he was one of the best centre mids in the league before his injury on form. So if he comes in as confident and as fresh as he was then, I do believe we got a decent chance of winning, but of getting a result anyway. But if we're going to be making mistakes. And at this point in time, it doesn't really matter what back three. I would go with, by the way, when I talk about back three, I would go with Romero, Dyer and Davis. I would drop Longley. I would go with that back three only because they were the back three at one of the Etihad last season, and they know what it takes they know their role and what it takes to get the win at the Etihad. So I'd go with that back three. But if we're making mistakes, it's going to be very difficult. And I know Haaland, he'll be licking his lips at someone like Dyer and someone like Davis when it comes to battling for crosses in the penalty box and running in behind and things like that. So it's going to be difficult. But if we can keep it as tight as possible and congested, if we can really reduce mistakes to a minimum, and we can get Bentancur on the ball, and we can get that front three, Kane dropping deep, Kulusevski and Son running in behind, there's the blueprint there, 100%. There's a blueprint there of getting results, especially given how City are playing right now. But it's impossible. Like, I can sit here and say tactically this and tactically that, but then if Lloris drops a clanger, what can I say? Like, well, how can I predict that? You know what I mean? I mean, you probably could, but
so predict it.
No, I can't. You can't predict. I can't predict Dyer heading it back to Haaland and him rounding the keeper. You know, I can't predict that.
When it happens every game, I think you can predict it.
So if we're not going to make any mistakes, I actually think we can get a result. But if we do make, if there's one or two individual errors and that lead to goals, then we're losing. So
score prediction?
So I think we're going to lose.
By?
2-1.
2-1 Man City. I've just got this feeling tomorrow that just similar feeling to last year when we played Man City at the Etihad, where everything was just going wrong for us. We had no hope whatsoever. Man City are a team that, you know, we've got their number sometimes. 4 out of the last 5 times. 4 out of the last 5 times we've beaten them. And I just think it's so classic Spurs if we just go and win tomorrow. It'll be just so classic, and I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I can't tell you any sense of why I think it's going to happen apart from just because it's just classic Spurs, really. It's just absolutely classic.
It's with Spurs, well, the thing is with Spurs is as soon as you give up hope and as soon as you think this is it, it's done, like there's no point moving forward, that's when it turns.
Yeah.
You have to give up hope first. As long
That's
as
the
you
thing.
have the hope,
That's the thing.
then they keep letting you down.
That's the
But as
thing.
soon as
Because
you
of
give
what
it
I'm
up-
saying right now, because of what I'm saying, it probably means we're definitely losing.
Yeah, you have
because
to
of
give
what
up.
I'm
You have to
saying.
give up all semblance of hope. As long as you cling on to that hope, it's not going to happen. But as soon as you lose the hope, that's when it happens.
It's true. It's so true. But I just got a sneaky feeling tomorrow, which probably means we'll lose. But I'm going to go for a repeat scoreline in 3-2 to Spurs tomorrow at the Etihad. I want to know your score predictions, so put them in the comment section below. Tell me what you think the lineup's going to be as well. But that is your match preview for the Man City game at the Etihad tomorrow, 8 o'clock kickoff. I think Sim is going to be in here with the studio with Sai and Barry tomorrow, and me and Brian Daigle will be up at the Etihad getting all the content from inside the ground.
Before we go into callers, we haven't been on stream yet since Conte's press conference yesterday. So maybe we should address some of the comments he said about the hierarchy, which is pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of it's been taken out of context, but he mentioned that he was asked about, there was a few interesting things I thought he said yesterday. First of all, about why does the hierarchy not... I guess it's not calling out Spurs specifically, but he said he was asked about, you know, what's the vision of Tottenham, what's the plan, the strategy going forward, and he said in Italy, when he was in Italy, every game or every 2 weeks, you had the sporting director, would go in front of the media and talk to the media and answer questions, and in England, that's not a requirement. It's never really done here. It's not a thing, and it's always on the manager to explain everything. Now he did say that he was now when you, I haven't actually watched him say it in his own words. I've only read what he said. But do you think he was, when he said it, he was making a general point about England? In England, it's not a done thing, and in Italy, it would be nice if England followed Italy in that sense. Or do you reckon he was kind of saying to the board, look, the fans deserve to know what the strategy is. I can't give them the answer. Only you know, that kind of thing.
I think it was a consequence of every press conference, him being asked the same questions and him giving the same answers every time. There's not much he can say apart from just completely throw the board under the bus or throw his mate Don Paratici under the bus. I think he's right that fans need way more clarity, specifically Spurs fans need way more clarity than what we're getting right now. And look, I think it was kind of, would you say it's throwing the board or throwing Paratici under the bus? I don't really think so. I think it's just stating the facts of the matter is that the fans need clarity and everything is just so up in the air. The fans are thinking one way, Spurs should do one thing. The club have a completely different vision to what the fans want, and the club have a completely different vision to what Conte wants. Conte can only speak about his own vision, and the club need to come and tell us what their vision is for this football club. Nobody knows. And
that's followed on by the Supporters Trust making a statement yesterday saying that responding to Spurs' response to them, they earlier in the window, I think, was it before the window or was it beginning of the window?
It was the first 2 weeks of the window.
First 2 weeks of the window, asking Spurs, you know, what is the plan basically? You know, what direction is the club going? And Spurs responded saying, look, we'll happily give you an answer. Paratici will make a statement, but we're going to do it after the transfer window is closed. After a few days, and then after what Conte said yesterday, I don't know if it was in response to what Conte said, but the Sports Trust have made a statement. Let me see if I can get it up. Basically saying, let me see if I can get up the statement, because it'll be interesting to discuss it. Here we are. Got it here. It says, 2 weeks ago, we asked the board of Tottenham to outline its strategy and vision. Today, Conte was asked for the same thing. I guess there was in response to Conte. It's clear to everyone that for there to be a chance of success of this club, the vision and strategy of the board and manager must align, which is what we've all been saying. We understand the widespread discontent among Spurs fans who have loyally supported the club through 22 years of current ownership, years in which success on the pitch has not matched the increase in the price of watching the team. It's time for the club's board to clarify its approach to achieving success on the pitch and to commit the necessary resources to support and to secure that. The club cannot continue to drift from one approach to another. We urge the club to reconsider their decision not to provide answers to the key questions raised by the Supporters Trust and many individual supporters until February, and to provide those answers now. It is perfectly possible to do so without compromising the club's commercial position. Spurs fans deserve greater clarity about the club's aspirations. That was the statement yesterday. Is that a fair statement? Do you think it is fair for Spurs to say we can wait until after the transfer window, or do you think it is absolutely fair to demand answers as soon as possible as to where this club is heading?
I think it's absolutely fair and long overdue, to be honest. I think that the club have been hiding for way too long now. Way too long, and I'm happy that the Supporters Trust are making these roads now. I know that the Supporters Trust changed their co-chairs in the last year, and it seems as though the people that have picked up the mantle, that I don't know who they are, but the people that are there in the hot seat now doing the co-chairs are actively looking for answers now, because the Supporters Trust for a long time weren't doing the job that we wanted them to do or what we needed them to do, and I'm happy that they're pressuring the board, the Tottenham Hotspur board, into making answers, into providing clarity of where they think this football club is going and what their plan is for this football club. And these words from the Supporters Trust are long overdue, and the answers from the board are even longer overdue. And we've been in a mess for so long now. We've had no direction for so long now. We've been going in different directions for so long now. It's time for answers, and waiting until the end of the transfer window is not good enough. They need to be answering the questions now. And what are they waiting for? They're waiting to give out the financial results to after the transfer window. They're waiting to give answers to the Supporters Trust and to us fans after the window. And even if they do, when they do give us answers, it's just going to be some PR bullshit that's not going to make a difference to anyone's life. That's the reality of it.
No, and I completely agree. I think the Supporters Trust are right to call it out, and because right now we're in the precipice of what direction we're going in. Are we going to back Conte? Are we going to give him what he needs to take this team forward? And are we going to give it to him this window, or are we going to tell Conte that he has to deal with what he's got until now to the end of the season? And then, if that's the case, what are we? Why is that the plan? What is the vision for this season? Do we expect Conte to deliver success and do we expect Conte to make this team function better than it already is, with the resources without upgrading? Or are we not confident in the long-term vision of Conte? Is that why we're not backing him fully to the extent? In that case, why do we still employ him? Why don't we just get a different manager and give him what he needs in this transfer window? But if we let this transfer window go by without doing anything and with no answers, then we're going to be left with this transfer window in a real mess. And there's big risk of that happening right now. We're already 18 days into it, no movement in the transfer market. We know where the holes are in the squad. So I definitely believe that it's not good enough for Spurs to wait till after the transfer window to give these answers, because these answers need addressing immediately.
Yeah, you know what winds me up though is when some fans, they talk about the money Spurs have spent and saying that Conte has been backed. Like, spending money doesn't equal a manager being backed. Let's just get that right now. Like, backing a manager is listening to what his needs are, letting him be involved in the target choosing process and picking those players and getting one or two of his best choices in. I'm sorry, but looking at the summer business that we did, Perisic is backing the manager because that's a player that Conte clearly wanted. Buying Jed Spence for a key position where we're lacking in desperately is not backing your manager. Just because we bought a player in that position, it doesn't mean the manager was backed. It means that we bought players in. There's two completely different things, in my opinion.
And neither's getting Longley on loan.
Yeah,
it's not backing a manager.
exactly.
When we were told, what were we told? We're going to spend Romero money on another left centre back, and we ended up. I understand we wanted Bastoni, and that didn't happen, but just because that didn't happen, does that mean, okay, we're going to get a defender who's been struggling at Barcelona on a loan deal to the end of the season, and that's gonna bring our team forward? No, it was always going to be a stopgap. It was never going to be a player that was going to take our team to the next level. Eric Dyer, we didn't buy anyone in place of Eric Dyer. And I understand, look, Richarlison was a good buy, Basuma was a good buy, and it just hasn't worked out as of yet. But when it comes, like, the back line was the biggest problem under Jose, biggest problem under Nuno, and is the biggest problem now, and it just hasn't been addressed sufficiently. And to be honest, was the biggest problem under the latter days of Poch as well. Vertonghen and Alderweireld aging, and no good right backs, and there wasn't any good left backs at the time as well. So it's been a big issue. And what additions have we actually had in this back line? Since then, the only good one's probably been Romero, and at the moment he's kind of looking like, I remember we discussed yesterday, he's looking like Vertonghen did in that season under Sherwood, where he was like struggling, and a lot of question marks, I remember, were put on Vertonghen that season because
his attitude as well.
His attitude was bad. He was putting in horrible performances, but all he needed was some good partners next to him and some good players, and all of a sudden he was a different player. And I feel like Romero, the same thing will be with him as well. So we need serious investment in this backline, and it's been needed for years. And it's like every time this backline we're looking to cut corners, signing Joe Rodon when we needed Skriniar, signing replacing Walker with Aurier, and signing Matt Doherty because we got a cheap deal of 12 million for him.
I'd love Aurier in this team right now, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But every time, Longley on loan. Converting Ben Davis into a left centre back instead of spending money, converting Eric Dyer into a centre back instead of spending money, keeping hold of Davinson Sanchez instead of cutting our losses on him. Emerson Royale we spend a lot of money on, to be fair, but whatever, okay, fine, we spent money on Emerson Royale and it just hasn't worked out. But we've known for 18 months now that he's not going to be the case. But so often we're just cutting corners on this backline instead of just addressing it properly, and that's been our downfall in the defence.
Cutting corners FC, that's what they should call us.
And also another thing to address, what Conte said in his press conference was, what I thought was very interesting, he was asked about the mentality of the team. The question was, our record against the top six this season has been really bad. And he said, why do you think that is? Is it a mentality issue? Whenever we face the top six, are we struggling with mentally in these games? And he says, whenever we have bad results or whenever we have bad games against these teams, you always bring it back to mentality, and you always talk about mentality. And he says, listen to me. If mentality was the only issue with this team, then it would be easy to solve. But trust me, mentality is not the only issue. And what he's saying is
it's a quality issue.
It's a quality issue, and you can get average players and you can improve their mentality only so much. And I think to be fair to our team, I don't think mentality is a massive issue. And I think the way we've come back in games and dragged ourselves back into games when we've been dead and buried shows that this team is still playing for the manager. I think it shows this team is still fighting till the end, and it does have a good mentality. But at the end of the day, it's a quality thing. What did he say? He was talking about the Arsenal game and the pressing. He said, look, we tried to press high at the start of the game. We tried to get at them, but you have to understand the characteristics of your defenders, and you have to understand that if you press high, you're going to leave a lot of space going behind, and if the characteristics of your defenders aren't good enough to deal with that, then you have to make sure that you're not leaving too much space, otherwise you're going to be too open. And what happened? We pressed high early on and Saka exploited the space in behind, and I know Lloris made a mistake and that was it, but it was because in the early parts of the game, we were pressing high, but we got exploited. And that's why we're seeing our defence being very deep a lot of the time. And trust me, if we had 3 defenders who were as quick and strong and good on the ball as someone like Saliba or something like that, or even Romero, like, we wouldn't need to be so deep a lot of the time. But Conte understands the characteristics of our backline.
It's also, though, like, I would also say to that, yeah, it's right. It's a quality issue. But Conte needs to find a way to use this quality in some way, because there are teams in the Premier League that maybe have less of a quality than us and are doing better than us at the moment in terms of, I can't think of teams off the top of my head right now, maybe Brighton or whoever it be, Fulham, So I think Conte definitely needs to look at that and needs to hold his hands up a little bit as well in that situation. But I completely agree with the way we're playing our football, the way Conte wants to set up. The quality issue is definitely the key area there.
Look, Brighton and Brentford and Fulham are all doing brilliantly, no doubt about it, and they're doing great with the squads they have. But what they have done is the manager and the board of boardrooms at those clubs are aligned, and when they sign a player, they don't just sign a player because it's a good deal, because they're getting value for money. They sign a player for specific roles in their team, and they sign a player very much thinking about where he's going to fit in the team, what role he's going to play, exactly what I need in my team, and who's going to fit that role. So when Fulham signed João Palhinha, who's a very good player, I'm not saying he wouldn't get into our squad necessarily, but I'm saying, like, he fits exactly what Marco Silva is looking for in his team and where he's going to fit. When we sign a player, except for someone like Perisic, when we signed Basuma, I know he's a great player, don't get me wrong. I don't think we signed him with the view of he's going to play this specific role in this team and he fits exactly what we need. We signed him because he's got 1 year left in his contract and it's a very good deal for Tottenham. That's why we signed him. We didn't sign him to play a specific role. Not to say it was a bad signing or a bad player. It was because he was an opportunity. Because he was an opportunity. That's why we signed him. And that's and same with Spence. We saw we can get him for a cheap deal, young wing-back who potentially could grow. And that's why we signed him. We didn't sign him because we identified him as someone who would be perfect for what we need in that role. We signed him because he's an opportunity. So that's why we're seeing Brentford and Fulham and Brighton functioning so great. And by the way, they're functioning great, but they don't have the expectations we do. If they were expecting to play Champions League and stuff like that, would be a different story. But they're functioning because they sign players for specific roles in their team, and they're functioning better, whereas we don't do that.
Yeah. It's true. I can't disagree with that, but it still brings me back to the point that Conte can still be getting, at the moment, a bit more out of this team that he's getting. But on the flip side of that, like, he can't stop them doing these individual errors week in, week out, which are the moments, the key moments that are putting us down in games. So, I mean, there's so many different things wrong at this football club.
Like you think, and he was talking about all those big games, and yeah, fair enough. A lot of them we've. We sat back in the first half, we invited pressure and all these kind of things. And those are all things you could throw at Conte for those games. But in all those games I can think about, the game was even until a big clanger. Like Newcastle, we were on top until Lloris committed a clanger. The North London derby at the Emirates, it was even up until another Lloris clanger. Okay, fine, the one at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Arsenal were on top. But again, it was 0-0 before a massive clanger.
Yeah, but let's say if we go into that game at half-time, 1-0 down from that Odegaard goal, we could have got back into that game. It's only one goal.
One goal where you have more belief you can get back into it. Even the Liverpool game, it was quite even before Dyer decides to head it back to Mo Salah and give a goal away. So a lot of these games, like, we're set up in a way where it's very close. You could argue. You could make a good argument, look, we would have lost those games anyway, and you could argue that, but the fact of the matter is, those games were all close, if not even at the time, until a massive clanger by a player, which you can't really constitute for, and then we end up losing the game by one goal usually. So it's difficult for Conte to manage.
So wouldn't you put some of those defeats then down to mentality if we are just making a mistake and then not being able to claw ourselves back into the game? I know against the lesser sides we can do that, but against the bigger sides we can't do that. So is there a mentality? But isn't it a bit of both?
But if it's a massive clanger, right, by a defender. That goes down to the quality of those defenders, not necessarily just the mentality.
No, I'm not saying quality is not an issue, but I'm saying, isn't it down to both then?
If you're talking about mentality or tactics, there's two different things. Mentality is like the will to keep going, fight till the end, play for your manager, run the hard yards even when things are going against you and stuff like that. I think mentality-wise, I don't see a problem. I think we fight till the end, even against I think we'll fight it to the end, trying our hardest to get back in the game, create chances, never giving up. That's why I see mentality. But then there's a quality issue, which the mentality keeps trying to make up for, and it can't, I feel like.
Fair enough. All right, we'll leave it there and start taking some guests. Before we do that, we'll go through the super chats. Jaden with the super chat, big up Jaden, says recall Adoji. I wish we could. Rajesh Sharma said, sad if we beat City, the goons will be flying. #Enoch out. And Victor Mathiasen says that I think we should forget Emerson as right wing back and only play him in a back four or as a right centre back in a back three. I think he would flourish. What are your thoughts? What are you feeling as?
The headphones came out from the heater.
Professional stuff here at We Are Tottenham TV.
All right.
Anyway, let's go to the guests and let's bring on Mr. Brian Daigle. Brian, we're going to talk to you, but we're not going to have any headphones in, so just...
Perfect.
How you doing, Brian? Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear now.
Good. I was about to say, you might want it might be better with your headphones off. Who knows? But yeah, Simeon, I hear you found the medical for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be in the studio. I've got a bad ankle. I just don't want to... I was on my feet a lot on the North London derby. I was standing all day and I got back and my ankle had blown up like that, like a watermelon, because I sprained it a week ago. And I don't know, going away from home, travelling to Manchester 3 hours and then standing all game is going to be difficult for me. So I'm thinking I'm just going to stay home for this one. But I think Monday should be all right.
Yeah, We Are Tottenham TV got worse medical staff than Tottenham these days. What's going on?
Mate, it can't be that bad. It cannot be that bad. Don't yourself short.
Brian, let me first. I want to get you before we go into the Man City game. What's your reaction to what the Trust, their statement yesterday? Maybe some of Conte's comments. What did you make out of it?
So, I mean, obviously, this is the first stream I've been on since the North London derby because I walked out at half time fuming because it was pathetic what we did, pathetic how we performed. So obviously I've been very active doing what I do with the people that I do it with. Seeing the Trust come out with this, like Ben was alluding to, it looks like they're under new ownership or they've got a new chairman and they're going in a completely different direction. And you know what? It's wonderful to see them doing it, especially the second one. I give them a lot of respect for coming out and doing the second one. The thing that annoys me with this all is, and just big up Sue Smith, who's in the house, so I have to do it every time I see her in the chat. It seems that this only happens when Levy out start getting loud. When we start getting loud and tweets start coming out and voices in the crowd, they pipe up. I was shocked and amazed that the club responded to the first message, saying, "Oh yeah, we will get back to you, and we will get back to you in February." Well, with this demand, I don't expect to hear anything back from them whatsoever. Apart from we said February, it'll be February. If they've even got the class and the dignity to address the fans or the Trust, shall I say? I think the way it was worded was fantastic. The most important thing about this is, and I'll come on to the protest Saturday when we get a chance to, is that the message is being kept out there. If you look on Twitter and all social media, even your chat, boys, it's dominated with Levy out, Enoch out, Levy out, get this stuff, and words to that effect. Twitter is dominated by it. And the fact that the Trust have done this, fair play. It's got Sky Sports' attention again. It's got media outlets. It's got papers talking about it again. And the longer this message keeps happening and it keeps going out there, the better. So fair play to the Trust for doing it. like I said, I was one of the people, Simeon, at the very, very beginning. The word supporters trust kind of, I lost it in translation. I thought that meant, right, when we're unhappy, you act, you do this, you do that. And then I think it was Rez that had a talking with, and he was like, Brian, the things they do to help the disabled access in the stadium, people with ticketing, and all the other things they do away from the footballing side, they do a lot. Where I got muddled along this was solely on the footballing side. But do I think anything will happen from this? No. Am I very happy the trust are doing this and making this message keep relevant and stay relevant? 100% delighted.
Fair enough, Brian. Fair enough. You wanna have a quick word about the protest on Monday, Sunday,
Yeah,
Saturday,
well, no,
whenever it is?
Yeah, listen. I've got to say there's a lot of work that has gone into it this time again. A lot of work, and obviously people will know myself, Ryan Isaacs, who is familiar on this channel, and Graham, who people will know, maybe not in the chat, did that on a whim. And it was actually I actually looked at my Facebook memories today, and it was a year ago today. Ryan and I started that. How uncanny is it? How uncanny is it? A year later, 130 million invested in the squad, and we're in a worse place than we were. Our striker is on the verge of, we know what's happening with him. We don't know what's happening with Conte. The style of football, the 150 million was a PR stunt. I came on here and said it straight away when we spoke about it, and I said, let's wait and see. If you look
Let's
at it,
be honest, Brian, bringing in Conte was a bit of a PR stunt as well.
Yeah.
All it was to shut the fans up for a year.
Yeah, Ben, you're completely right. But then when people go, oh, we spent money, 130 million, well, 60 million of that went on Richarlison, 70 million spent on 6 players. Who does that in the Premier League right now? Not saying that we should spend 100 million per transfer, but 70 million over 6 transfer. One's in Italy that looks a real talent, a sub goalkeeper, Basuma who's not done it. It's just not good enough. Where people have been strengthening their first team, we've been filling the squad, and here we are, day 18. And once again, as I said before the window, said during the window, we're not doing anything. We still can't play Porro's. Apparently, there was another bid in today. Again, below value, and Sporting Lisbon again have said, guess what? Pay us the release fee, you can have him. Funny that if we sell Harry Kane and he says 100 million, if someone goes and says we'll give you 65, he'll say no, because it's okay for Daniel Levy to do it, but not other people to do it. So getting back to the sorry, I went on a tangent. I've got my Levy Tourette's back. The protest. We did it a year ago. This time, after the Aston Villa game, things started to happen with another group as well as the group that I'm proudly associated with. There's someone in the chat right now, Rachel Freeman, who has been bombarded non-stop with tweets, getting petitions out, as is the other group. And this time the numbers are there. Not saying there's thousands or whatever, but it's a lot bigger. It's a lot more organised. 500 people responded to the first survey and have kept saying, right, this is the time, this is it. Ben, you know at Crystal Palace what you said to me about how this feels different. And since that Aston Villa game, and even since the Palace game, the WizKid concert that's coming the day after a North London derby announced, unacceptable. Signing up for the Green Football Initiative. 6 weeks ago, you signed up a 4x4 oil guzzling, polluting sponsorship for more revenue. That every penny goes back into the team. People are sick and tired of these lies. I've been sick and tired of them for a very long time. Other people, maybe not as long as me. Some people longer, some people shorter. But people are waking up to the lies. People are waking up to the nonsense. People are waking up to the bullshit. And everyone keeps saying, I mean, even the Arsenal game, we were told not to sing it. Ben, you even said, listen, I won't take part in it. And I was as well, because we said, this is about the team. I said, if I was still there at the end, would have been screaming it, would have been shouting it. But then when we left, people said, well, why weren't people... End. I know you did. But then there's people on social media, well, why weren't the Levy out people singing? It was like, well, wait a minute, you told us, not this game, not this game. Well, now it's come to the point where people wanted a voice. People wanted a chance to vent their anger. People wanted a chance to come and join us and have their say. Well, Saturday, if you're in London or can get to London, obviously if you can't get to London, it's completely understandable. There is a chance right now. And I'm not going to go into full details because I'm not disclosing, but things are happening behind the scenes where this is going to get the attention where it needs to go. This will be happening, and this is the chance you have. And people are saying if it's 200, 500, what's that going to do? Listen, the time is now. I'd rather say we tried rather than we didn't try. The pressure, the temperature, the heat, whatever you want to say, on Daniel Levy and Enoch, it has never, ever been hotter. Ever been hotter. And now is the time for action. And if we could get bigger numbers, listen, it's not going to be hard. The training ground wasn't as big as what everyone thought, and Kulusevski and Bentancur came in. But now, time for talking is over. Time for people that tweet, I want to be at a protest, I want to be at a protest, I can get to them, when is it, let me know. We've let people know early. If you can get there, it's starting at 10 o'clock outside the training ground on Saturday. If you can get there for 10 o'clock, brilliant. If you can't, we're not going anywhere. People can reach out to me on various social media platforms if you follow me and say, are you still there? What's going on? But now is the time. And if you can get there and you want change, come. But do not, we're making sure this is 2 golden rules. A, do not bring alcohol. This isn't a party. This isn't a get-together. This isn't a jolly up. And the last thing we need is beer cans around and everyone going, oh, look, they're trying, And under no circumstances, and Ben, you can vouch for this, because a guy stood next to you with a Spurs shop bag next to you when you were holding the banner at the Super League. Do not, I cannot emphasize this enough, do not wear any Spurs clothing that was bought from the club shop. Because straight away they're going to say, oh, look, they're protesting and they're wearing Spurs stuff. Come wearing blue and white. Come, do not wear Spurs products.
Brian, sorry, I'll also say, maybe to add another rule into that, if it is my place to do so, that
course,
I've noticed that a lot of protests that I've been to, that I've seen clips of, that, you know, you see fans singing about Sol Campbell, singing about Arsenal, singing about this, singing about that.
Yeah.
The protest, if you're going to go there, you need to keep on message. None of this crap about Sol Campbell and Arsenal and, you know what I mean? Just keep on message.
Yeah, you're right. None of this Daniel Levy die songs, which my group changed. Oh, yeah. Change for Tottenham. Everyone check Twitter. Change for Tottenham, or Change for Spurs is their Twitter handle for up-to-date information. This is a very level-headed, not toxic, rah, Levy's this, Levy's that. This is the hub for this message. This is our Twitter group that we use for information to get out there. And I want to say a bit, you know what, I'll just pick up something I've seen in the chat. And I've seen John C. in the chat, who is even, and I'm getting this a lot, and I really appreciate it, where he's just saying, Brian used to annoy me. He used to bitch and moan and blah, blah, blah. But I can see where he's coming from. And he was words to that effect. So, John, for you to say that, these kind of things mean the world to me. They really do. I know I'm very, very outspoken and Marmite to some people because of Levy in, Levy out. Ben and Simeon have known me long enough now that when I speak and talk about this shit, 9 times out of 10, it's actually happening. With Levy out stuff, with what he's going to do. I understand I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I get that. But right now, this isn't about whether I'm your cup of tea or not. I'm sick and tired of 1 trophy in 22 years. I'm sick of lies. I'm sick of nonsense. I'm sick of, and it's not just a football pitch. It's fans like Ben, Simeon, and loads of other people that travel across this country and across the world, spending thousands of pounds, and people that spend thousands of pounds in the club shop and are getting nothing in return. It's for the people across the world that get up at stupid o'clock in the morning or stay up late and cannot get to protest, but invest all their time in Tottenham Hotspur. So yeah.
But Brian, on Saturday, what is the message at the protest then on Saturday? Is it Enoch out, Levy out? And if that is the message, is that something you feel like is actually achievable?
So Simeon, let's just say, you know, and I've said this on many a time. I have been like this for 15 years now, and sometimes it's been by myself. I've been by myself in Facebook groups. I've been on your channel
by
when I first
yourself
came
outside
on.
the training ground.
Yeah, with Ryan Isaacs. I've been at Everton from the very second I came on this channel. I was leaving, and I was predominantly saying it. Where we are right now is the strongest position we have ever been in, and it's getting to sponsors, it's getting to on the pitch, it's guys, it's everywhere. Simeon, listen. This still could take time. This still could take. I don't think once January's over, Daniel Levy's going to go, oh, this has gone too far now, I sell. I don't think that. But the longer and longer this pressure is kept on, the more and more possibility that there is of this happening. And when they say I'd rather have loved and lost than never have loved at all, well, it's the same thing. I'd rather have tried this with everyone and failed than never have tried at all. And now is the time. And I always think it's achievable. It's just how quickly we can get it done.
In terms of what's achievable, are we talking about Levy out, or are we talking about back Conte?
It's Levy out, mate. Listen, it's Levy out. Listen up. All I can say is I spoke to a few people today, and I've got a really bad feeling that if we lose, and unfortunately I think we are going to lose tomorrow. Do you remember when Pochettino went over to the Man City when Christian Eriksen scored that last-minute winner, and he went over to the fans, and it was like the belief that we could do something? I've got a feeling if this is a defeat, we're going to have that with Antonio Conte, but waving goodbye. I really, really, really see it happening. And you got to remember again, moving more.
Why would a loss make a difference, though, Brian?
I don't. Do you know what? I think this is all written in the. I just think he's going to be having enough. Well, when he came out yesterday and said what he said, saying what's the vision, what's going on, you can see he's getting more. He's getting more like Conte. He's not sitting back this time. He's saying things without going in hard. We've seen all this talk. Ben, you and me were talking as it was breaking about Tuchel, and we were WhatsApping each other when it broke. There's no smoke without fire with this new manager search, I don't think. I really don't. It's just the case of whether it happens tomorrow or at the end of the window, it ends up being the window I think it's going to be, and many others do, and then he just walks. I honestly think we are on borrowed time with Antonio Conte. Unfortunately, we can't even get him. We can't even agree a release fee. If you can't get the release fee, go and attack another person that you can get him. And what makes it even worse, Ben, and it's Perchie that said this to me, if we do end up paying the release fee, let's say after City towards the window, why the hell did you just not do it at the beginning? What a waste of 18, 19, 20, whatever days it is. If you go and pay it, finally, why didn't you just do it? So he was there to help us against Arsenal. So he was there to help us against Man City. So he was there to help us in the FA Cup. Not that we needed it in the FA Cup, we're through. Same with Kulusevski and Bentancur. But I told you, Ben, I've said this to you many times. I said to Simeon, Porro is last season's Adama Traore. That's all it is to me. And this is the thing. This is the thing, sir. As much as I would love the message to be back Conte, Sim, I honestly think we are completely on borrowed time with him. And then there'll be another Chelsea manager that comes in, and every Chelsea manager we bring that wins trophies, what did they have? Open checkbook to try and do it. What won't they get at Tottenham Hotspur? An open checkbook to try and do it. So yeah, the message for me, I'm as much Conte in as I am Levy out. But I think we're on borrowed time with him, and my message will always, always, always be Levy out first.
All right, Brian, let's move on to the game, though. Spurs against Man City at the Etihad. Me and you going up there together tomorrow, which I'm very much looking forward to. Yep. What do we want? What do we want tomorrow? Do we even want to win this game?
Okay, I'm probably going to get a lot of heat from what I'm about to say, and I'm waiting for the heat to go. I don't give a fuck. In all honesty, I don't. If you look at it, if we win, we're pretty much giving Arsenal another game. We're giving them another hit. If we lose, then surely this fuels the fire of Levy out even more with no signing, which means it'll probably be a draw. I said to you when I walked out of the NLD at half time, I am going to the Manchester City game, not just to watch the football is the second thing for me. The main thing is to make sure Levy out is getting chanted and make sure I can be a part of that, because like I said, I talk a good game, I run my mouth, but I back up what I say. When I say I'm going to do something with Levy out, I do it. So I don't know which result works out best for us. I really don't. I just hope and pray that it is not an absolute spanking. I really don't, because like you said, Haaland is on a goal drought. Dr. Tottenham will see you now. It's concerning. I saw Lee Richards in the chat as well, and I can see him right now as well. And he said we can't keep getting these smash and grabs from Manchester City. It can't. I just can't see it keep happening and happening, or rely on it happening. I'm going there, just hoping we don't get spanking.
What personnel changes would you make tomorrow if we're looking for the result?
I agree completely, wholeheartedly with what you said, Simeon. Bentancur is absolutely. He may not be match fit or whatever, but what he brings, you can tell when he's been gone just how much we miss him. That's how I kind of evaluate sometimes how good a player is. Like when Kulusevski's been injured, and that front three just doesn't work. Bentancur is vital. First thing I do is leave Sessegnon here in London and make sure Perisic is on the pitch. Because Sessegnon, after what I saw in the first half, was woeful. Right wing back, I will agree with you. Emerson he wasn't bad at the match. Better. It was Harry Kane. Remember, Harry Kane had a worldie.
Yeah, it was Harry Kane. Yeah,
Harry Kane had a worldie, but he was at Liverpool. Emerson did have a good game against City, but a lot of that was due to Romero being on absolute fire that day. He was absolutely immense. Apart from that penalty, which was harsh, the way he went down. So if I had to choose, I may just, and I can't believe I'm saying it, side with Emerson just for the defensive duties, because we know Doherty's the better attacker. Blah blah blah. And Bentancur, Heung-min Son is a huge one for me. I'm kind of on the fence. I think I might have started with Richarlison, and the reason I say that is he's just been so out of form. He's been so out of form. And how many times do you keep saying we need a big game from Son? He hasn't delivered. We need a big game from Son. He hasn't delivered. We need a big game from Son. We all thought it against Arsenal that was to be the game. His first touch in that first half and his involvement was next to nothing. And I think it's just time to freshen it out. I think it's just time to freshen it out and try something different. If we try something different, it fails. What could be worse than what we're witnessing at the moment? What could be worse? So yeah, so for me, I would go Richie.
Okay. Score prediction?
Oh Jesus. Heart 2-2. Head, you don't even want to know. Probably a 4-5-1 spanking, but I'm going with my heart. Funnily enough, I'm going with my heart against him.
Shocker.
Big up, Daigle. We'll see you tomorrow,
I'll speak to you boys later. Everyone,
See
if
you
you
in a
can get there Saturday, get there. And as always, Levy out.
Big up, Brian. Let's keep... Oh, actually, we've got a couple of super chats to get through. Victor Mathiasen says, so Emerson doing a Davis? That was in response to the previous super chat that said that we should play Emerson at right centre-back.
Difference is Davis has played a lot of left centre-back for Wales and stuff, so it wasn't exactly a new position for him. It would be a new one for Emerson. I do think Emerson could do it from a defensive point of view. I think he could do it when it comes to in possession, playing out the back, doing that kind of role to progress the ball up. I don't know how good he would be. I reckon he'd be all right when it comes to, when Davis has to be those overlapping centre-backs, when he has to pick his moments to do that. He might be okay at that, but I wouldn't
low block black three, maybe.
I wouldn't want to be playing out the back and playing it to Emerson, basically.
Yeah. He'll probably be good right centre-back for a Mourinho back three instead of a Jose back three. I mean, a Conte back three. Jory says, guys, keep your message and protest as simple and as clear as possible. # Lewis out, # Levy out, # Enoch out. Lee Richards says the trust needs to call for Levy's resignation. Pointless them asking for Enoch these questions. Levy just ignores them like he ignores the rest of us. And Faz Radfar says Brian would would a signed petition by the fans work? I don't really feel like signed petitions by anyone ever works.
But we're going to sign a petition for them to sell, and then they're going to sell because of it. It's not going to happen. You can't force them to sell. There has to be a buyer. There has to be a process. So, I mean...
But you can force them to put the club up for sale.
Yeah, I think they're always up for sale. They're always up for sale.
I don't know if they are always up for sale. Apparently, we heard from a reliable source that someone came with a $3 billion or whatever offer and they turned it down last year.
Who came with that?
Who was it from? Was it Ali Gold or was it one of... It was one of these journalists. I can't remember exactly who it was at the top of my head right now.
Depends how... Well, I don't know how much they value the club for. The club at the moment. It's always changing because the value's rising at the moment. I think if they get an offer that they think the club's that they think's good, they'll sell.
What's good? $5 billion?
Don't know. I don't know what's good.
It's like I can't remember. Anyway, let's bring on our next guest, and it's Aravind. Sporting his red shirt, Aravind. What's going on?
He's just remembered. No, come on, man.
It's my pain and my aggression shown in the red color.
Fair enough, Aravind. How are you, my friend?
Good, not at all. And especially, I'm not even interested. Last year, I was actually confident when we played against Man City, but I'm not confident against this time playing Man City. But more on that, I'm not even interested in the transfer window this season. What's the point of even getting any of these players? We have a manager who is not committed in our club. What's the point of even signing anyone right now? To be really honest, I wouldn't sign anyone this window because we don't know who the manager is. We already have a lot of shit players in our club, and I don't trust our recruitment side of getting any good players this window. So I don't want to add more shit players to be this thing. If this club has any direction right now, either you do two things: you go to Conte, give him a contract, and say we are going to value your way of playing football, and this is the players we're going to get, or else sack him, get some part-time, get any manager right now till the end of the season. Let us finish 9th or 10th, doesn't matter. Wait till the summer and rinse the whole squad. Kane, Son, everyone. Rinse it from top to bottom, recruitment, scout, sack Paratici, everyone, and do it from the start. But it's not none of these things is even going to happen with us. It's an absolute shambles.
Yeah, it's hard at the moment. But I remember last season we were doing a pre-match show for the Man City game, and we were also doom and gloom, and we were depressed. And then you came on. You were like, "What are you guys depressed about? What are you crying about? We're gonna win tomorrow. We've got it in the bag. Well, you have to have some belief." And where's that fire gone, Aravind?
When you look at Conte's mentality, his passion, it's not the same as last season. Last season, when we saw him, he was motivated. He was more interested. He thought there's a plan which will be looked forward. There's nothing. I feel that he himself has given up in the project. When the manager himself gives up the project, what motivates the players to go and play in front of the fans? Makes no sense. Let's say today, if Conte signs a contract and the board aligns with them, then he'll be motivated. Okay, yes, that's something to do this season. I'm going to get players, what I want. Players will be more interested to play for the manager. Why would any player even be motivated to play for a manager who's been blaming the board, who's been talking about a lot of shit about the club? Why would anyone be even motivated to even give an effort? Forget about even doing anything. And the way we played against Arsenal already was a footprint to me that none of the individual errors is there, but more than that, the players, the facial expression, the mentality on each and every player and the manager itself, it doesn't sound wrong. I don't think so. He'll be even the manager in another 2 weeks' time. Doubtful.
You reckon he'll be out of it? You reckon what? He'll walk
I'm,
or he'll be
I'm
sacked?
telling you, if we lose against Manchester City and if we lose against Fulham, I won't even be shocked if Daniel Levy sacks him. That means we'll be very far away from top four. He's not going to be here for sure. He's forcing himself to get. It feels like he's forcing himself to get shocked. I know that he's trying his best to build a project with it, but if as a human being, he can try his best. He can't coach everyone. You can't make Eric Dyer, Milan Skriniar. He can't make each and every Hugo Lloris, Prime Lloris back. All these players have come to the sell date. We keep on giving contract to players who have gone off their sell date or who are not good enough for our club. We need to get it done. We need to get it done. Simple thing. Pedro Porro, if he really wants him, pay the release clause. Get it done. David Raya has 20 million. Get it done this window. Why do you need to wait till the summer? We keep on giving excuses. We need to wait till the summer. If there are players available and they're given price, Pedro Porro wants to join Tottenham Hotspur, right? It's a deal which our club can do it. It's a deal which we have the money to pay it. We have personal terms agreed. Pay the money. Get the right wing back done. If David Raya is costing 15 to 20 million, I've heard better. If that's the price he's actually going for, pay the money, get it done this window. If that is something the club shows and is doing, and if that is something they're changing their way to get top players done in a such proactive way, why wouldn't Conte sign the contract? He's seeing a change from the club itself that they are signing top players to come into the club and they're willing to get the top players who want to play for Spurs, right? I mean, we're not going expecting over here go and sign Mbappe, go and sign players which of higher prices. Man, I'm not expecting to do a Chelsea or something. Go and pay 100 million, go and play another 100 million. No, that's what as fans we want right now the players to be sorted for certain positions, and we don't do that. We keep on hanging around. We know the defense is not strong, we know the goalkeeper is not strong, and we know the right wing back is something he's so what that is. When people say money is not the thing. The backing is getting the players which is of serious cost, and it's been given with the right tools, right? If that is done, that is backing. I can see a top goalkeeper. I can see a right wing back. I can see a centre back. I can see a midfielder he's asking for. I can see a winger he's asking for. And then you see that is somewhere the club is going with. That is somewhere he's doing it. That's what we're asking. That's what we're asking as a club. We already don't have targets. We don't scout proper players, and we don't see any. There's no direction. There's no philosophy. There's nothing in this club. There's no plan. There's nothing. So what's the point of even signing anyone right now?
Yeah, it's hard to disagree, to be honest, Aravind. Do you really believe Conte has checked out at Tottenham Hotspur mentally?
Yeah, he's 100%. He's 100% checked out. He's not the same manager. I can see it on his face. The game against I saw it on his face. The game against Brentford itself. There was something wrong in it. I have a feeling that there is 100% some conversations which has gone between Daniel Levy and Antonio Conte when we had the World Cup. Either it's not about the contract, but it's just something that there is some dialogue. There's no way that the chairman has not talked even nothing about what the club ambition is in it. And and that game against Brentford, I saw it was a different Antonio Conte. It was not the same Conte. Even against the Leeds game, he was motivated. But since the Brentford game, it's not been the same Antonio Conte. It's not been the same. I feel very bad about the way this is going. We have a top manager. I really trust him. I think he can change. I think he was the manager who would go and win us titles and cups. And I thought that okay, this club is bringing a top manager, and they're willing to change their ways because now the time has come. You can't keep on doing this. I think so. It's come to a time the owners need to leave. They just need to leave. There's no. What's the point of? Let's say even if you win that match, what's the point of even winning that match? Is there anything going to change in this club? There's nothing that's going to change. We can go win and we can lose the next 3 matches. Is there any transfer policy which is going to change? What's the point of winning any matches in Tottenham right now? There's nothing. You can see it. The board hasn't come and talked even one bloody word about what the club is doing. What the club No, it doesn't need to be what, there doesn't need to be the plan, but they haven't come and talked about we have something to do in the next 3 weeks. We will do it. Something. Just provide us any information. There is no information because Daniel Levy doesn't know what he's doing with the football club. When he doesn't have any clue what he's doing with it. When he doesn't know what the plan is. And there's nothing. All he's interested is in how to make money, what are the concerts, where to get his profits. That's what he's more interested in. There's no direction. There's nothing right now. What is the point of even signing anyone? I'll be very happy if this club doesn't sign anyone this window. Let it go down to rust. Let us finish 9th or 10th. Let get Ryan Mason, get some random manager in. That's it. That's my ambition right now. With this club right now, after what they've done with Antonio Conte, I have no hopes. I'm not interested in any trophies with this club to win. And under him, we're not going to win anything. So what's the point of even signing anyone? Just don't sign anyone. Already we have shit players. Let's finish 9 to 10. At least that awakens the whole our fan base to actually see what this manager is of sort.
Aravind, moving on to the game. Obviously, it's a big game in terms of the Premier League title race as well. Do we even want to win tomorrow?
I'm just what Brian Daigle said. I'm not interested about even if we win or not. I mean, we may scrap it out. We have seen it against City, but this time I have a feeling we're going to lose 3-0 or 4-0. I don't have any hopes this time. I just don't think that's when the manager is given up. I don't expect us to turn up. Last season, at least the manager was in our side. There was players who was motivated to play for Conte. There was Kane that was motivated. There was Son that was in form. There's something that isn't right from back to front, from manager to the board. Nothing is aligning. When that toxic nature comes down, right, it's going to go down and down and down. I think so. We'll lose this 3-0. I have no hopes.
3-0.
We'll lose it 3-0.
If Aravind doesn't believe, who's going to believe?
No one.
I'm the most positive person, but for this time around, I don't know. I can't find any positivity with this club around right now. There's some serious surgery, right? But they need to be done. Forget about serious. There's some questions which they need to answer. It's horrible. 18th of January, manager isn't signed a contract. Players are not interested. There's no direction. There's no players in. It doesn't look right.
All right, Aravind, thanks for coming on today, my friend. Passionate as always and spot on as always. We'll speak to you next time.
See you, Aravind.
Oh, some home truths from Aravind there. Let's see what we're going to get from our next guest, and it is Mr. KPV.
Hello.
You all right, Carl?
Yeah, just pissed on Sunday, man. What the fuck is wrong with us?
Talk to me.
A Bonucci shirt, I see.
Yes, mate.
You ain't playing around today,
That's it.
KPV. Talk me through your feelings, mate.
I am fuming, man. Like, what is wrong with us? Like, Conte, for instance, made the wrong choice starting Sessegnon because he's not good enough. Like, who is there that can play where he is? Like, he should have started Perisic because, as I said before the Emirates game in October, he scored against Arsenal when he was at Dortmund, and that was when those lot lost 8-2 to United. That was the season, and Perisic scored a worldie. So why didn't you start the guy that's won everything? Like, seriously, man, what the fuck is wrong with you, Italian prick? Start the guy. Start him, man. Start the geezer tomorrow, man. Because
You being rude about Antonio Conte?
I'm serious, man. Like, stop making the wrong choices and starting Ryan Sessegnon. Like, he came from Fulham in 2019. Conte didn't sign him. It was Poch. Like, he went on loan to Hoffenheim during the 2021 season and I think done well, but came back and it hasn't worked out for him. So, I'm sorry, kid, but time to leave, mate. And I heard that we're looking at Jordan Pickford, but seriously, people can just not stop mentioning the guy. Like, I don't want him. I want Dean Henderson because he's better and he knows how to save penalties and he would not do what Hugo Lloris and nephew's done on Sunday. And he goes and does that. Like, it's time to move on, kid. Like, you're not doing great anymore. Get him out. I miss Gazaniga. He would never do that. I think Gazaniga's better than him. I know people disagree, but I'm sorry, guys. I am right. Gazaniga's better. Should never have let him go. Bring the guy back. Argentina. Then he would never do rubbish like that.
How are you feeling about the game tomorrow, KPV?
Tomorrow. Like, I know you're going to the game and I see Sim's going to do the watch along. Like, Sim, I see you got a bit of an ankle injury like I did before, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, you
tomorrow?
you two fitted me, Kyle. That's
He's
why
only
I was
copying you, KPV. That's all he's doing. He's just like, I want to be like KPV.
So I sprained my
How am
ankle.
I feeling? How am I feeling tomorrow? Like, I'm not sure, man. Like, I know that Jabroni lost in a derby. Haaland, he is now not scored in how many games, I've no idea. But Kane should have broken the record Sunday, but hopefully he can do it tomorrow because we actually always beat them, Man City. We always seem to beat them, and I know Son always scores, like, but Kane, Kulu was the one actually opened the scoring when we bought him 1-0, and City were claiming he was offside. Behave, will ya? It was not. Kulu was on. Kane passed the ball to Son, Son to Kulu, like assist each, like, and so I want to win, but my head says we're getting battered tomorrow, man. Like, but I don't want a battering because the last time we got beat by C was when we had AVB in charge, 2013-14. We got battered, I believe, 6-0 at the Etihad, I believe, or was White Hart Lane, I don't know. But yeah, that was when they had some new players, what, Negredo and Stefan Jovetic. But this time, I think that'll probably happen. But I don't want a beating like that scoreline again.
Score
We've not
prediction,
lost.
KPV?
I'm gonna go 3-2 again, like it was the last season to Tottenham. Like the penalty, Romero handballed it, like only touched the side of his arm, but not like that again, please, because doesn't really like. And we I think we have a good record at the Etihad, only one loss. And Ericsson actually scored a winner on his birthday, 2016, and that was when we actually last won in the league. But last season we won under Conte. But Conte's record against them is actually pretty good. Double over them when he was at Chelsea. Then he fortunately lost the next season twice when he was there. But come to us, we won 1-0 at home when it was under the Portuguese guy known as Jabroni Nuno. Then he goes and we get Conte and we win at the empty hat. And so we still got played them after Fulham as well, mate. So that's a couple of days afterwards. So home and away, Son always scores, but I'm score prediction I say 3-2, man, but I could be wrong. But 3-2, and we better be talking about this on a couple of days afterwards. But if not, then we're finished. Like I watched Northside channel yesterday, and Deji was on there, and he said that we're going to win a Champions League because we're still in it. Like, really, mate? I'd love us to win it, but he thinks we're going to beat AC Milan. But that's next month, kiddo. So this game and then Fulham, then City at home, man. But yeah, 3-2 win. Kane, Son, Kulu. I know Son didn't score in this game last season. It was only Kulu and Kane. But yeah, please,
All right, Carl.
Son, do not let me down, boy. All right,
Nice
lads.
one. Let's
And as
hope.
always, Levy out.
Big up,
Nice one, Carl.
KPV. We'll speak to you next time. All right. Is this our last caller of the day?
And then one more.
One more. Two more callers. All right. Let's bring on Stelios. You right, Stel?
Hello, how you doing, Ben? How you doing, Sim?
All good.
Yeah,
good to
living
see
the
you,
dream, my friend. Living the dream.
Oh yeah, the dream that is Tottenham, always.
Stel, let's get your reaction first then to what the trust had to say and maybe some of Conte's comments in the press conference yesterday. Specifically, he said he was calling on maybe Paratici or the hierarchy to explain what the strategy is or the vision is at Tottenham right now, and he also said. That if the only problem at Tottenham was mentality, then it'd be a lot easier to solve than it is. The issues would be a lot more easier to solve. Off the back of that, the trust made a statement yesterday calling for the hierarchy to give instant answers to their questions they made earlier in the window. What was your response to all that?
Well, regarding the trust, I'm not going to speak about them because actions speak louder than words, and I'm pretty fed up of emails and letters being sent to the club. Waste of time. If the trust really want to have an impact, promote the protest on Saturday that we will all be at and start taking action. And I've been saying this to every channel, every person and individual that says, "Oh, look at this and look at that." I don't really have that much interest anymore, guys, in hearing those things, because it's action now that needs to be taken. Whether it's protesting, walkouts, sittings, boycotts, whatever it may be, that is the only way that anything is going to be done. I guess the fact that the trust's email is public, that will raise the level in the media as to disruption going on at the club. So I guess that is a positive impact if you want leaving ENIC out. But in terms of just writing emails, yeah, look, been doing that for years, doesn't work. The comments Conte made, listen, guys, I don't know about you, I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving this. Every time Conte speaks now, it's just another grenade thrown in, another bomb going off in the background, another angry exchange between fans. This is the only way. It's so sad, but this is the only way anything's going to change. There's no dialogue. There's no diplomacy. There's no ENIC reform, ENIC change. Joe Lewis is 88. He's not going to change, guys, right? He's not going to change. So, look, Pochettino said if you want to have a lovely house, maybe you need better furniture. 2019. That was Pochettino. Jose Mourinho, Spurs have problems I can't resolve myself as a coach. That was 2021. I'm reading off a sheet I've got here. Nuno, we have problems, 2021. Conte, I'm starting to understand the situation. It's not simple, 2022. It's now 2022, 23, isn't it now? Yeah, 2023. And Conte saying, where's the club to come and speak to you? It's not for me to... How many more managers need to come out and say cryptic messages before the penny drops? This ownership doesn't care. Daniel Levy, where are you? You're hiding. The Don Paratici, where are you? Joe Lewis, where are you? There's nothing. They don't care. They're panicking. They don't know what to say. They've probably spoken to the PR team, and the PR team have said, look, we don't know what to do. The tweet put out on social media is getting absolutely battered. They put a tweet out about Romero visiting a local community project. They put a tweet out about a first aid course they're doing in the stadium. And every comment is, we don't care. Stop doing this. PR machine at work. ENIC, they are getting ripped to pieces. They haven't got a clue what to do. So I'm loving it, because this is the kind of disruption that is going to eventually bring about change. Guys, look, whatever happens, either Conte's going to be sacked and the fans are going to completely turn against the board, because whoever comes in is not going to deal with this lot. Whoever comes in is not going to inherit this lot and turn them into a top 4 team or win a trophy. So either they've got to back him, which I'll be happy with. If they properly back him with a proper plan and he signs a 3-year deal, I'll be very happy with that. Or they're going to sack him and just get ready, buckle up, fasten your seatbelt, strap over the top, strap over the middle, parachute, and away we go, you know.
What do you think? Dan Kilpatrick wrote an article yesterday about the state of play at Tottenham, and he said that Conte should realise he's at a top club with top facilities and top infrastructure, and he should be willing to make concessions when it comes to transfers, with the knowledge that outspending your rivals isn't the only way to have success in football, and we shouldn't have a manager who feels like he's doing us a favour by managing Tottenham, and Tottenham deserve more respect than that.
Yeah, well, there's two things. First of all, Dan Kilpatrick should tell us how much Daniel Levy's put in his bank account to speak like that. And number two, Dan Kilpatrick should look at Arteta, who he also tweets about, how he was allowed to get rid of every single player at Arsenal, how Jurgen Klopp was allowed to get rid of every single player at Liverpool, how Sir Alex Ferguson was allowed to get rid of every single player at Man United, and then 3 years down the line, look how well things turned out. So how's about Dan Kilpatrick says Conte should be allowed to clean out all the players from the club and not have to coach Sessegnon and Dyer and Cess and Ben Davies and Brian Hill and every other player, that Hugo Lloris, that is still here from the old regime, you know? How's about Dan Kilpatrick talks about that? But he kind of misses out that little bit and just says, you know, Conte should compromise, and why hasn't he coached Sessegnon better, and why isn't Eric Dyer, the leader at the back, defending well against Arsenal and against Man United and against all those other fantastic clubs that were allowed to get rid of all their players. So, I mean, that's what I would say. It's just such a pathetic tweet. I mean, I can't be bothered with it anymore. One thing I do want to say to you guys though, I do want to say, and it's why I actually called in. I know I've got to engage with you guys in the chat as well, but the one thing that's really kind of frustrated me the most in the recent couple of weeks, listening to people on your show, my show, I know Danny is coming on next, and Brian, he spoke, people on their show, people on Twitter, people on podcasts, people on big channels, small channels. The one thing I'm always hearing is, we're sick of Conte's tactics. He's stubborn. Why does he always go with 2 in the middle? We always get overrun. He never plays 3 in the middle. And why is he playing the wing-back system when wing-backs at Tottenham aren't good enough to play this system? Why doesn't he change it up? I heard Josh Samosa guy the other day come on your show and say, we should go to a back 4. And I hear all these things. And guys, look, I'm not trying to belittle a fan. I'm not trying to say you're stupid. But for me, it's really frustrating hearing all this. Because what I think is happening is there's a real lack of understanding of Conte's system. There's a real lack of understanding of Conte's system in the phases of play throughout a game. So what I'm doing is I'm actually putting together a video on Antonio Conte, an in-depth analysis. And if you want, guys, I'm putting out there for you the tactical part of the video. It's going to be about 10 minutes long with coaching diagrams from his days at Chelsea, what he's doing at Tottenham, video analysis, all of it. If you want, take my video, clip the tactical part, edit it to have your Tottenham, We Are Tottenham TV branding. And guys, put it on your channel and just put, look, a proper tactical understanding of Antonio Conte done by Coach Stell, and see what people say. Because I think once people see this, it's really going to change everyone's views on this manager. And it will show how good he really is. And how the biggest problem with what is going on right now, it is on the players. I'm sorry to say it to anyone who thinks that 2 in the middle is all Antonio Conte's fault. You don't understand why he does 2 in the middle. And actually, it's not 2 in the middle. It's 4. And when we defend, it goes to 4 again. But because players aren't doing their job properly, and my video analysis will prove this, I've got all the evidence now. It will show that it's the players, they're simply not good enough. They're not capable of doing what he is instructing them to do. And here's the thing. Even if we went to a 4 at the back, it would still fail because the players will still have to learn how to maintain a shape. If you can't maintain a shape in a 3-4-3, you're not going to be able to maintain a shape in a 4-4-2, a 4-5-1, a 4-2-3-1. It doesn't matter. Being disciplined on the pitch has got nothing to do with formation. It's down to the individual player. And there's a lack of discipline in holding shape. So if you want, guys, feel free to crop that and put it on your channel. So it's your choice.
We'll have to take a look at it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing that. And I think maybe it can sway a few people's opinions. I mean, I, for one, have been saying myself that maybe Conte should be adjusting the tactics to fit the players that he does have. But I'm very interested to see your take on it. And I'm sure my opinion probably will change after watching your video. But on the match tomorrow, Stel, do we even want to win tomorrow?
Well, I'm taking Bobby Kay and his kids out for a dinner, so I'll probably miss it because I've given up Ben and Sim, and my heart has gone for what is going on at the club anymore. So I think, look, I'll watch the highlights later on. I'm sure at some point I'm going to want to watch it because I'm still a Spurs fan. But I'm actually in agreement with you, Ben. I'm not going to lie. I actually agree with you on this. I think Spurs are going to do something ridiculous and probably somehow get a win because we're not supposed to. Like what you said, Sim. If you give up completely, Spurs bring you back on board. So, look, I think we will most probably go up there and lose. But, guys, I'm kind of going to predict to win. I am, because it's just the most stupidest thing that would happen. There's no rationale. There's no tactical coaching analysis I can give you or justification as to why we're going to win. All roads lead to a loss, which is why I think we're going to win.
It's just classic Spurs, isn't it? Just classic Spurs. Score prediction?
Really is. Oh, bloody hell. 3-2.
Same as me. Yeah, it's 3-2.
Yeah,
all right,
3-2.
Stel, big up yourself, and I'll speak to you soon.
Nice one, Stel. Good to
All
see
right,
you.
guys, big up. Enjoy the trip. Enjoy the trip.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Oh, is he still there?
All right, Stel. Apparently, we're not getting you off. Apparently.
Hi, Stel, and welcome, Stel.
All right, Stel's gone. All right, let's go to the last caller of the day, and it is Mr. Danny Kiriakou.
Go on, Danny.
Yes, Danny. How's it going, bro?
I'm good. Can you hear me clearly, boys?
I can actually. You're probably the most clearest guest I've heard today.
Beautiful, Lord.
Brilliant. Good to hear. I'm good, boys. How are you both doing?
Yeah, not bad. Any reaction? Oh, I can hear myself.
We spoke too soon. There you go.
Is that Stel? It's Stel's dodgy audio.
Stel?
I think that's better. But talk to me about Conte's comments in the press conference yesterday when he was alluding to the board, talking about the board. I'm sure you've seen it and heard it. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, it's kind of I'm kind of what Stel was saying. I'm very glad that he keeps kind of giving out those cryptic type of messages to the fans and telling them kind of how it is, because I think if he's not going to do it, no one's going to do it. If in my honest opinion, and fans need to keep hearing this stuff from Conte. And I know fans want to hear more positive things. I know they want to hear what he's trying to do in training and trying to motivate the players. But at the end of the day, Conte he's an intelligent man. He's not a stupid man, right? He's won what he's won because of the way he is, right? He's won 5 titles in the last 10 years because of his philosophy, the way he coaches, the way he is. So I think it's only going to add to people seeing what the truth is behind closed doors. And I think people need to be more aware of it, to be honest with you, because I know there is still a portion of the fan base that isn't aware of it, or they just don't want to realize what the reality is because they just support their team. They just want to hope that no matter what happens, they're always going to try, and they're always going to try and do what's best for the club. But in the end of the day, it's not the truth, really, because we can see what's happened. There's so much evidence over the last 15 years from when Martin Jol was here. How many times have we seen things that's happened? And yeah, I think it's good. I think it's really good that he keeps talking like this. And I think what he's doing is he's putting more and more pressure on the board, and he's trying to direct the blame from him to them. And in my opinion, I think that's the best thing to do, because we all know we need better players in this team. And all the stuff you've seen over the last few days with the kind of Tuchel candidate maybe replacing Conte and all this kind of stuff, it's just for me, it's just stuff that's coming from the club trying to put the onus on Conte and trying to put the blame all on him. And it's like a to and from at the moment because they obviously can't agree on the alignment of the vision of the club. And yeah, it's good to hear from Conte. I want to keep hearing more and more.
You heading off to the protest this weekend?
Unfortunately not, because I'm going to be in Amsterdam. I'm going to be away for Sana's grandma's 90th birthday celebration.
Happy
so
birthday.
I won't be there. Yeah, I'll tell her that. But yeah, that should be. I would have gone if I wasn't away. But
What's
I'm
your
gonna try and.
expectations? What's your expectations for the protest, and what do you think can come out of it?
Look, in my honest opinion, I personally think the protest should be done inside the stadium. I think I know it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. But I think where you get most heard and where you get most coverage is inside the stadium. I think that's where the fans as a whole have to do it. But the problem we have is, and why we need to try and why I think it's a good idea what the protest is going to happen on Saturday, and I want as many people as they can and who can to go to them, right? If you really believe in wanting this board to change, or just want them to get out the club or sell up whatever it is you want, then I advise to go. And I think that any bit of coverage is good coverage. Any bit of bad PR is for Levy is good for the people that want change and want a difference in this club and a direction and a plan, really. Because do you know what? I think the things that fans want the most is a clear plan of what is actually going on at this club. If the board came out and said, right, in the next 5 years we want to compete for the title, this is our plan, I think every single fan would be quite happy with that, because at least you kind of know that that's what they want. They're going to try and do, right? But I think a lot of us have come to the point where we know that it's just not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. So I think that it's a good thing, and I just want more people to kind of try and understand exactly what this board is doing to this club, because nothing's going to change. Our fortunes in terms of on the pitch are not going to change unless there's a change from the top. Like I said, whether that's Levy and the board changing their ways and deciding to back a manager finally, or whether that's them deciding we're going to have some investment like the QSI investment, or whether that's, do you know what, it's time to go. And that's the reality of where we are at the moment, because we, like Stel said, we can't just keep sacking managers. It's just that there's a lot of good articles out there, right, about how, I mean, you guys put that thing, you got that, what was that chat thing you guys did?
ChatGPT.
Chat, yeah, and how it was saying how there's no consistency with the managers, and it doesn't give you stability and stuff like this.
Not enough investment.
Exactly, on top quality players.
AI objectively looking at the situation.
Exactly, and this is the funny thing. Like when you've got an AI that can do that and can see that we're not consistently spending like what our kind of competitors are, or people we should be competing with, then it's kind of
organising the protests.
hopefully they can help get him out.
Sorry to cut you off, Danny. Carry on.
No, it's cool. But I know one thing I also wanted to kind of go into as well a little bit was the trust, the statement they brought out yesterday. I think that's it. Look, I'm one of the people that I never ever believe that no matter what the trust do, they just don't do enough. They just don't, right? And I was always of the opinion that they have a lot of ties with the club and all this kind of stuff, and they get perks and whatever, which is why they don't do things. But when I started speaking to people who are actually involved in the trust, there's a lot more to it. And I think, look, I know that we were talking about this yesterday, Ben, how they've had a change of ownership change of people who on the board who are running the trust now in the last year. And I think that statement's the first time I've kind of seen it where they're kind of trying to really put pressure on the board in a way where they're still being diplomatic, but they're trying to get answers. And it's for the fans to see that if the club don't decide to answer, then that should be really clear what the intentions are of this club. And in my opinion, look, I understand, right, that the stuff that I know and stuff that you guys know, that if it was up to Daniel Levy, the trust wouldn't even exist. Like, he doesn't even want them there. So I understand that there's difficulties for the trust trying to actually work with Daniel Levy, especially when he actually doesn't even want them there. And I think that's always the difficult thing, because if they overstep the mark, or if they really kind of go aggressive, or they're kind of like some of the really extreme Levy outers, then the club is just going to ignore them anyway, and they're not going to get any response. So they have to do it in a way where they are diplomatic, fair, and that at least it gives them, like, the fan base, the kind of that open their eyes to see that at least they're trying to get some answers from the club. And the way they kind of articulated that statement I think was pretty good. And let's just hope that we get some answers from the club, because we all want answers. We all want to know what this vision of this club is, because at this moment there's no plan or direction. So it doesn't really matter if Conte leaves or not, really.
Yeah. All right, Danny, let's just gloss over the game tomorrow, because we do have a game to play tomorrow. Man City at the Etihad.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I'm asking all the fans to come on. Do you even want us to win tomorrow in regards to Arsenal winning the title? A lot of fans coming on, including Stell and a few others, saying they genuinely just don't care what happens tomorrow. What's your opinion?
So my opinion is that I think if we were to keep losing games, it's going to make this whole fan base even more divided than it already is, even more toxic than it already is. And I think it's not going to be good for the people who want Conte to stay, because it's just going to put more onus. The fans, a lot of the portion of the fans, should I say, are going to put more onus on Conte and say, "Oh, his tactics are outdated," and he tried a different formation, and like Stell said, right. Whenever people ask me this question, they always say, "Oh, change of formation, change of players," and I always ask them, "Okay, fine. Who are you going to change? Tell me which players you're going to change." Like, for example, the Arsenal game, right? They were saying, put 3 in the midfield. And I said, okay, then, who are you going to put in midfield, right? Bentancur was injured. Basuma was just come back from an ankle injury, which he's still kind of recovering from. He's not fully fit, right? So he couldn't play the full 90 minutes. Skip has been dreadful this season. So who else have we got to choose from, right? Sarr started the game. Literally, a 19-year-old started a North London derby. Who else can he put in the midfield as a midfield 3? And people can't answer it. And it's like, okay, who's the back 4? Who's going to be in your back 4? Perisic isn't a left back. Sessegnon isn't a left back. We're going to put Ben Davies there. He's terrible. I think the last time I said I saw Ben Davies play at left back was that game against when Jose Mourinho, we won against Fulham, and you know where they changed the VAR rule about the handball in the box, and we won that game 1-0, right? He got torn apart by Fulham that game. And it was the last time I said I don't ever want to see Ben Davies as a left-back again at Spurs. And ever since that day, I don't think I've hardly ever seen him there. Maybe coming on as a sub or as a sort of a last-ditch thing to bring him on. But other than that, I haven't seen him play left-back since. He's always played as a left centre-back. And I think he's a competent defender when he's playing as a left centre-back. He's not the worst player, but he's not the best player. He's an average player, right? And I think with this whole kind of match tomorrow against Man City, look, as a Spurs fan, no Spurs fan wants to lose that game. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Not one Spurs fan is going to sit here and say 1,000,000% they want Spurs to lose tomorrow just so that Arsenal don't win the league title. Because if you're saying that, then it's either you just lost care, right? You don't give a shit anymore, or I think that's the main reason. You just don't give a shit anymore, right? For me, I want to win. I don't care. I want to beat City, right? Regardless of what's happening. I want to see 3 points tomorrow. But whether that happens is a very different story. And I think we need it as a fan base. We need a little bit of something to kind of get our kind of our spirits up again a little bit. Go beat Man City. It'll be a good result. It'll be a good away day for you and Brian, Ben, and you'll enjoy the trip home. You won't be miserable coming back home after that long trip. So I think every Spurs fan wants to see a win, and for me, it's just like, how do I put it? It's like it just doesn't help if we lose. I think it really doesn't help in every aspect of what's going on at the club at the moment. So for me, I want to see a win. But I'm not sure if we're going to win tomorrow, to be honest.
Danny, let me ask you this. Spurs finish 4th and Arsenal win the league, or Spurs finish 5th and Arsenal don't win the league?
Spurs finish fourth and Arsenal win the league. Do you know why I say that, Ben? Because they deserve it, right? And the reason I say that is I want Arsenal to win the league, right? If it means us finishing fourth, right?
You better not hope someone clips that, Danny.
Just because, do you know what? They can clip it, right? Because I tell you what, Ben, right? If Arsenal win the league, it's because they deserve to win the league. It's because they have a board that back their manager. It's because they have the whole club, and the whole club is now united, including the fans. Now I know the fans wanted Arteta out for years. They've been called, most of them have been calling for Arteta out for years, and all of a sudden they've now completely done a 360 and changed their opinions because of where they are in the league. And of course, that's what fans are. Fans are like that, right? A lot of fans tend to flip flop a lot of the times because when you see your team doing bad, you get pissed off, you get annoyed. When you see a team doing good, you want the best for them, right? And now they're in a position where they actually can win the league. They've got a very good chance of doing it. And if they do it, fair play to them, because what happened is their board stuck with the plan that they had in place for Arteta when he came into that club. They completely ripped up that team, right? Only 2 or 3 players in that Arsenal squad right now is there from when Arteta first came in. They got rid of everyone, right? They gave him what he needed, and they've slowly built up. And now look where they are. Even Jose Mourinho said it when we beat them 2-0 at the Lane, right? Jose Mourinho said Arteta's gonna make Arsenal be the Arsenal that they were before, right? He said it. You can see those quotes that he said in his post-match press conference after that game. He said they had very good tactics. They played really well, but we just obviously got the better of them on that day. But
They were always right.
He's always right. And this is the thing, Ben. And if Arsenal win it, they deserve it completely. And I think the fans would hate to see that. And I think that would maybe help unite the fan base to try and get on board with, well, if Arsenal are deserving to win the league, right, and our ownership is not backing our manager to try and do the same, then where is the problem? This is what I'm trying to say. Where is the problem? If people want to blame Conte and Arsenal win the league, that's not Conte's fault. That's because he hasn't been given the tools that he needs to do a job and try and compete in that way. And that's as simple as that. And that's why I feel that I would rather Tottenham finish fourth than Arsenal win the league and Tottenham finish fifth. Because then what happens is, it's not just that, it's also harder to keep players like Kane, Kulu, Bentancur. All these players are not going to stay around if we finish fifth this season. I'm telling you that for a fact. Players like Kane is gone if we finish fifth. 1,000,000%, right? He's gone. He's not going to stay. And now, if you ask me the question, if Arsenal win the league, Tottenham finish fifth, and we win the FA Cup, then I'd say that I'd take that any day of the week. I want an FA Cup, right? If Tottenham win an FA Cup, for me, that's a big step in it's what the fans want, right? The true passionate Tottenham fans, they want to see that glory. They want to see an FA Cup. I want to go to the Tottenham High Road and parade with an open top bus with that FA Cup. I want to experience that again, right? Do you know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous. We're so starved of any kind of success. don't. Yeah. Well, yeah. I wasn't even born. I was a year before. I wasn't even born when the last time we won an FA Cup. But when we won the League Cup, I mean, we were still cheering, and it was amazing. So I want to see some kind of success again at this club.
Score prediction tomorrow.
It's a funny one. It's like I kind of a bit going with what you and Stel and Sim were saying. It's like one of those times where, as a Spurs fan, everyone's down and out. It's like we're on our knees kind of thing, and then all of a sudden, Tottenham have this performance, and they just completely blow everyone out the water. And they're like, "What the fuck has gone on here? Like, what have they had in their breakfast in the morning?" Sort of thing. Look, in terms of prediction, it's really hard to predict because this is a game that we could win, we could draw, we could lose, we could get battered. No result, no prediction is going to surprise me. That's kind of how I feel at the moment. Do you know what? I can't even predict it. It's really difficult. I just can't. I think having Bentancur back is definitely going to help. I think we'll lose. I think we will lose. I think it's going to be one of those games. But if we win, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think it's going to be probably 3-1. 3-1, I'd say.
Wow. Just before we let you go, actually, just a quick question is...
yeah, sure.
What's your Sonny? What's your thoughts on Sonny? Should he be coming out the team tomorrow?
Do we have a choice?
Well, Richarlison's back now, isn't he?
Well, he's not fully fit, so I don't know. Look, if Richarlison is fit enough to start, then I'd probably start him, just because Sonny has been so poor, and I would rather see Sonny come off the bench tomorrow if Richarlison's not doing well. If Richarlison is fit, I mean, put it this way: he from the stuff that I heard, he wasn't supposed to even be on the bench against Arsenal, and it was only an intimidation thing from Conte, which is why they put him on the bench. And the stuff that I was told as well, that he wasn't even supposed to play any minutes, but he did come on. So it was actually from the Richarlison camp, they were a bit annoyed that he actually did come on, because they didn't want to risk his injury, because he wasn't even supposed to be on the bench. So if he's got another week of training under his belt, or another couple of days of training, and maybe he's fit enough to start, then start him. But I'm not so sure he's fit enough to start, if I'm honest. I don't think he is. If he's not, I don't want to play him, and then all of a sudden he gets an ankle injury, or he aggravates the injury, then he's out for another month or something like that. And I can't deal with another month without someone like Richarlison on our bench, who can at least come on and impact a game in a different way. Whether he's going to change the game is another story, but at least we have something on the bench to impact the game. And at the moment, we're very short for options. So in that respect, if he's fit, I'd start him. If he's fit, I'd start him for sure. And let Sonny come off the bench, which he probably would do. If he's not, then we've got no choice. Son starts, in my opinion.
All right, Danny, big up yourself, bro, and we'll see you
boys.
next time.
Nice one, Danny.
We'll see you later,
mate.
Cheers, Danny. And I think